James, mental health is quite an important subject in the construction industry, which is not spoken enough.
Yep.
Would you agree?
Agree. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we were speaking off camera earlier, and we said the amount of suicides in the male. Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish that sentence.
So it's just, I mean, I don't have the stats and I don't like to pull them specifically, but yeah, Mates in Construction is a great organisation which has a whole bunch of resource on this. But in New Zealand, obviously, we have a disproportionate amount of young men that commit suicide in general, which is terrible. And then there is a high proportion of people in the industry of construction across all sectors, all aspects of construction that do take their own lives as well, both male and female. But obviously, it's a very male-dominated industry, as we've spoken about.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's
What's your views on it?
Number of factors in there. I mean, isolation.
Yeah.
So yes, you're working for a large company. You might work for a big, commercial electrical business that has 100 employees, but you might be, a foreman, a tradesman, a third-year apprentice, and a brand new apprentice on site. So you've got a hierarchy. The apprentice doesn't generally talk to the foreman. The foreman doesn't generally talk to the third-year apprentice. So you've got this hierarchy of where you're able to talk to above and below. And I think that isolation can create some issues. I think in residential as well, you generally start off in a small company, you work your way up, and then you become qualified, you do a couple of jobs as a foreman, and then everyone has this idea they want to run their own business. So you then jump into a 90-hour-a-week job, running your own business. You're 60 hours a week on the tools, you're 30 hours a week doing paperwork, you're sweeping, you're QSing, you're liaising with clients, paying bills, paying guys.
Sounds like a bit of experience, Doc. Then,
yeah. Done it for a while, and you can fall into a hole. Like you can fall into
I know that. Yep.
A dark hole, and I think the hours don't help either.
No, they don't. Just personally for me, when I started strategic planning, I told my wife we'll either be completely broke, or I'll be extremely busy. I'm not sure which one, but I know one of the two is going to happen.
Both.
Or both, who knows, right? And I became extremely busy, and I don't think I was in a very good space mentally, to be honest.
No,
and I had to go get help.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like, don't be afraid to get help, and help can be multiple things. Like it can be, people think, getting help is talking to a counsellor or going to see a therapist. It can be that, and I think those are really beneficial things, and I've done both of those things on a regular basis, and I think they're really good. And they can help you through certain aspects of life. They don't have to be a continuous thing. They can just be for a period of time.
Yeah.
But I think it's also prioritizing time away from site. And that can be, as I said, we start early and we finish late. But if you're putting into your diary or putting into your calendar the things that you need, so if it's making sure as
your non-negotiables,
a manager in a business, that you're taking a lunch break when the guys aren't on lunch. So you're having time aside from them on your own to decompress. You might go for a walk, you might go down the road and get a coffee or whatever that is. It's that. And then also for me, like I prioritize going to the gym.
Yeah, me too.
I used to be a lot more. I used to be quite overweight, and so I lost a whole bunch of weight. And so for me now, it's a non-negotiable. Like if I've got to leave site at 4:00 to go get a gym session in, and I do CrossFit style stuff, so we have set gym times.
Which gym do you go to? BFT?
CrossFit. No,
CrossFit.
CrossFit.
In
Rosedale.
I got F45.
Oh, we won't get into that.
We won't get into that. No. We're good.
But for me, that's where I get my outlet. So I have a set class, it's either 4:30, 5:30, or 6:15. So I make one of those classes or two of them every night.
Yeah.
And so for me, if that means I've got a deadline to leave site, I'm more efficient to get my work done, to get out of there. Because if I don't do that,
then you're not
2 days in a row, my mind isn't right.
Yeah.
But I think also, aside from that, is people feel guilty if they take time for themselves before going home to their families. I'm sure you've felt it.
Yeah, I've 100% felt it, because I used to work with a great mental health coach, Drew Knowles. Yeah. I'll introduce you if you're interested.
Yeah.
Mate, man's a fucking genius. Like he's literally saved my life.
Which is good. That's what we...
Literally saved my life. So when I was working with him, he got me to do this one quite interesting thing. In the middle of my work day, he said, book in your calendar now that you're taking Paru out for a movie. Like, Paru's my wife, right? I gone out for a movie. And it was midday, right? I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, this feels so fucking weird.
Yeah.
He's like, no, book it in. You'll thank me for it later.
Yeah.
And me and the missus went out. We had a great movie time. Middle of the day. It's like, midday movie. We had a nice lunch, got back home.
Sounds dreamy.
And I just felt weird doing it. But I'm thankful for him to, I needed his help and that push
Yeah.
to do it. Now I'm like, yeah, maybe, I've overworked, I'm a bit stressed,
Correct.
I need to take some time out
Yeah.
and go out with the missus. Yes, I hit the gym every day. That's fine. But then I need to do other things around to retain my sanity.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I heard it on an Australian podcast about, it's by Hamish Blake and it's called How Other Dads Dad.
Oh,
And
yeah.
He was an AFL player and he said, like it seems dreamy. You go out and you train and you play and you do all this stuff. And he goes, I live an hour out of town from where I train. He said, but every night on my way home, I stop and I go to the beach and I have a swim and I sit for half an hour. And he said, then when I go home to my wife and kids, I'm in a much better decompressed state. I've got all my bullshit out of the day and I've let that fall away from me and I'm able to be present and more interactive with my children,
Focused,
there for my wife.
yeah.
And so I think that comes into it in construction. Like we leave when it's dark, we get home when it's dark. But I think guys need to start prioritizing, guys and girls, sorry, they need to start prioritizing time for themselves. If it's in the middle of the day, like you said, booking a movie in with the wife or
Yeah.
a lunch break, get them to come over to buy one of your sites and have some time together with the kids or whatever that is.
Yeah.
During school holidays or if they're young enough, or if it's, going and doing a yoga session, going for a swim, just going for a walk before you walk in the door. Because like we do get burdened with a lot of things in all walks of life in the industry we choose to have as a career.
Yeah.
Construction especially, like it's you've got time pressure, you've got cost pressure, you've got long hours. It's cold in the middle of winter, hot in the middle of summer, and if you're not prioritizing something as an outlet outside of that, that is a big, it's going to become a big issue for you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think also having people to talk to. So if
Yeah.
it's a group of mates, you might not be from the same industry.
Yeah.
Some of them will be. And I think having those, like for all the brothers is great, sort of construction related as well. That's really cool to be able to sit down and have chats with those guys about what's going on. But it's
Yeah.
just ripping that Band-Aid off and going, my week's been real shit.
Yeah.
I've had a fucking terrible week this week.
Yeah.
And then instead of guys going, oh, you'll be right, mate, harden up, she'll be sweet, it's going, oh,
Pop
what's
a
going
concrete
on?
pill. Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, I
Make
hate
yourself
that
a
saying.
coffee, go over to the cement bag, grab a teaspoon, chuck it in and harden up. The amount of times I've heard that, it's and we've got to stop that. Like it's
Yeah,
not about
yeah.
hardening up, it's about actually sharing, because there's too many people taking their own lives in this country in general, and there's too many people taking their own lives that work in construction because of the isolation, the hours, the pressure. Financial pressure is a big one. You've got a lot of small business owners in construction, same as in farming and agriculture, and they're isolated.
Yeah.
They're out on their own. They feel like they're doing it on their own. They've got no one to have a stopgap sort of there in the background. They might not have a family. They
I
fall
can
back on.
completely relate to that.
Yeah.
because for the longest period of time, like I've tried explaining to my wife what I do for a living,
Yeah.
right? And maybe I didn't do a real good job of explaining exactly what I do.
I'm
but
sure you did. But
I tried.
yeah,
I tried.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. And I don't think she still fully understands exactly what I do. Like,
No.
and yeah,
And I don't think you can unless you live it.
yeah.
Like, you probably don't fully understand what she does every day.
I probably don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
That's the isolation bit. So
Yeah.
so then as a small business owner, now I got isolated and I went, the only person I can really talk to apart from having meetings on Teams is my wife.
yeah.
She doesn't fucking get me fully. So I mean, the work I do as
Yeah.
a person, she does understand me.
So you
But
started a podcast.
this podcast is great, eh? Like I can just sit there and
therapy.
have a rant.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
yeah, I
it's,
think
yeah.
that-
but that's important. You raise a very important point there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
So
a lot of
it's-
people are isolated.
Yeah, if it's scheduling a driving around session with 4 of your mates or 4 people that you've met in the industry,
Yeah.
if they're all walks of life and stuff. Like we have a group of us that do every Christmas Eve. We'll all get together and have a blowout and hang out and talk about the year and what's coming up. But I've got my gym friends that I have an outlet with, and then I've got guys, and one of my university lecturers, Vince May, shout out to him, great dude. He always said that the industry that we work in, we're not brain surgeons, we're not heart surgeons. You haven't got someone's head or heart open on a table. So if something's stressing you out or you don't have an answer, put the jug on, make a cup of tea, make a coffee, put your feet up on the desk, close the door, call someone. Like everyone's got those 5-6 people in their phone that they can call to bounce an idea off.
Yeah.
And I think if you haven't got those people start on your phone, and I do it with one of my good mates, he'll call me and be like, hey mate, how's it going? And I'm like, all right, run me through it. We don't even have to, no preamble, no nothing. I'm like, straight to it. We're all busy. What's going on? Like, what's causing you an issue today that you need to unload on me?
Yeah, good on you.
Because things in our minds always become so much worse, and we build them up, and we
When
create.
you internalize it.
Oh, we massively internalize it, and we're terrible at that as males in general.
Yeah.
And then construction workers are probably worse at it again.
Yeah.
But as soon as that's out, like the weight lifts off you, and if you talk to someone who's from that industry that knows that pain or understands a little bit of what you're going through, I think that can really help.
Yeah.
And so I think that's that's a really good avenue, is making sure you've got those groups
Yeah.
that you can go to and have a chat with.
So so summarize that in 3 sentences for me, for everybody, for the audience.
Obviously, mental health is super important.
Yes,
Part of the
extremely.
mental health, I would break that down into sort of 3 factors for me to keep my mental health stable and on the straight and narrow. Gym, diet, and surrounding yourself with good fucking people.
So that's solid advice right there, mate. There you go.
Yeah.
So there's some good advice for you guys. Advice from James.